Disney Pixar's Turning Red and Netflix's The Adam Project premiere as a trailer for the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series debuts online, and a beloved Nickelodeon star joins the cast of the next Christopher Nolan film. I'm Joe Acierno.
And I'm Darius Delsoin. This is Cinema Unchained.
Before we dive into the trailer for the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, YouTube, and so much more. If you want to help out the show, give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you can, and follow our social media pages that are listed in the description. All right, now before we get into Warner Bros. Making really just a massive amount of changes to their schedule of theatrical releases over the next year or so, the trailer for the upcoming limited series Obi-Wan Kenobi was released this past week. It takes place 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan Kenobi is staked out on Tatooine looking over a growing Luke Skywalker as he's hunted by forces of the Galactic Empire who are hellbent on destroying the last remains of the Jedi Order. It's weird, like, anytime I've heard news of, like, a certain limited series being announced, I always question, like, the motives. I'm always like, okay, now they're just taking whatever they can out of stuff they've already made and just milking it for all it's worth, right? But when it comes to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite Star Wars character. So, of course, like, I'm excited with that. And I love that Ewan McGregor is returning to play Obi-Wan, because if you look back at the prequel trilogy, there were a lot of notable flaws in that trilogy. His casting, his performance is, I think, the thing that stands out the most, that I feel like is really the best part of that entire prequel trilogy. Despite some of the lines that he was given to work with, he really made the most of his casting and his character. And his casting for this series is perfect considering the timeline of the show's story, right? It's after the prequel trilogy, before the original trilogy. It's 17 years since Revenge of the Sith. Like, obviously, Ewan McGregor is, he's looking a little older. Still looking fine, don't worry. But he's looking a little older. So I think it's a good time for him to get back into this again. So for him alone, like, I'm at least excited for him and his character.
Yeah, I'm actually, like, the Kenobi trailer, when I first saw it, honestly, I'm impressed. It looks really interesting. I like the Inquisitors that they're using. I think the overall tone seems the most fitting. And I remember Ewan McGregor saying that this is a very dark Obi-Wan. And it makes sense. This is after Revenge of the Sith, so a lot of stuff has gone down. This is supposed to be a very, almost, not necessarily too depressed, but a very dark, gritty Obi-Wan that we're going to eventually see becoming the more hopeful one that we see in the original trilogy. So with that in mind, I am very excited. I am very interested. And I really hope they knock it out of the park, because I think a lot of people, right, I think over time, it seemed, especially with Mandalorian, people were enjoying it, right? And then Book of Boba Fett happened, and all of a sudden it's kind of a mixed bag. So now when you have Kenobi coming out, and again, still leaning on the nostalgia, essentially, people are a bit worried because of what happened with, I guess, Book of Boba Fett to a certain degree. But I think for me, I'm interested. There were some comments Kathleen Kennedy has said recently that made me question certain things, especially why the Kenobi show was kind of almost put on hold for almost an entire year. Which is basically that they wanted to do a more hopeful, uplifting story with the character, and it's tricky to do that considering after Revenge of the Sith, so they went back to do script changes. So I am worried about that, because it should be a dark time. Almost a lot of Jedi were killed and etc. But I digress. I want to see how they approach this character, and really specifically how Obi-Wan grows into the character that we know in the original trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to what you're saying as far as, like, the whole tonality of it all, right? Like, I think at the very least, if they walk a sort of tightrope between, like, being hopeful and, like, being dark, like, I think something like this should lean a bit more towards the darker end of things. But we'll just have to wait and see as far as that, I was also kind of intrigued to find out that Hayden Christensen is returning to play Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. Now, it's weird, like, we know him as Anakin Skywalker, but I remember a lot of people, like, weren't as crazy about his performance. So I think bringing him back for this is kind of weird. It seems like a bad move, but it seems like a good move at the same time.
I think this is honestly a pretty great move. I personally like it. I think it makes sense to kind of have Vader coming back, but more ideally, I think it would be better if he was just a looming shadow. We know he's out there. There's mentions and maybe slight glimpses. He's one of the most powerful Sith Lords during this time too, and the most feared. So I think it makes sense for Vader to coming back. It's just a matter of how much are they going to use Vader. Is he going to be something like we're not going to see him at all till the finale, like they did with Star Wars Rogue One? So we're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. So one thing that I'm kind of wary of, because like the story takes place at a point where we kind of know what happens to Obi-Wan at the end, right? So it's not like we're looking to see so much far as like what happens at the end of the series, because we know what happens to him in like the overall timeline. But I'm sure it'll still be engaging, even if we know what happens to him. Like, it looks visually solid like the other Star Wars shows. If it's one thing they have been consistent on, it's that. So we'll just have to see like how this one turns out. It premieres exclusively on Disney Plus on May 25th, 2022, which ironically enough is the 45th anniversary of when the original Star Wars premiered in theaters in 1977. So I think it's nice that they're doing that. So for all you guys that are listening with us, do you have any thoughts on the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer and the series as a whole? I'm sure you had to have heard about it by now, because considering anything Star Wars, whether you're a fan or not, you had to have heard about it. So leave your comments wherever it is that you can. Now, before we review the newest Netflix film, The Adam Project, we all just got word that Warner Bros. Has made a lot of changes in terms of their release schedules for many of their films, namely their DC films. Aquaman 2, The Flash, DC League of Super Pets, Shazam 2, Black Adam, they've all been pushed back. So, Darius, I remember you in particular wanted to talk about this pretty badly. Like, what about this caught your eye so much?
What caught my eye was mainly December. This year, December, is going to be a big one because Avatar 2 is coming out. And the thing is, Aquaman 2 was already set to be released, I think, on that same day or around it. So, I guess I kind of was thinking in the very back of my mind that they should move Aquaman 2, which they did. And I think that is a good move. But then they took Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, and moved it up like 6 months to Aquaman to basically December 12th, which is a week 16th. And it's basically almost the same day as Avatar 2. And it made me... It's the same day.
It's the same exact day. And I remember seeing that, and I'm like, wow, check out the set of balls on Warner Bros. for for doing this. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I wonder what they're thinking. Like, usually you pick out, a release date so that way you don't have as much competition. Because it's not like, Shazam is going against, like, some, random hipster, like, small indie film. Like, no, it's going up against freaking Avatar 2. Yeah. Which, in case we all forgot, when Avatar 1 came out, it was the highest grossing film of all time until Avengers Endgame came into the mix. And then, like, you had the whole thing, like, back and forth of, like, like re-releases and stuff like that just to top each other. But it's Avatar 2. So I'm wondering what exactly they're thinking and how confident they have to be in Shazam 2. I'm going to Shazam 2? Like, you're going to put Shazam 2 up against Avatar 2.
I mean...
It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't, but the more I think about it, I think when you look at all of the, at least DC film slate that they have, Shazam 2 is probably the most family-friendly of them all. And because of that, it's that sort of thing where it's like, why not release it in December around the holiday time to really try to capture the family, going to the theaters. But again, that's a strong if. And at the same time, they're probably looking at the movie saying, we don't have a lot of faith in this. Let's just put it around, Avatar 2, try to make money before we get destroyed. I mean, there's so many different variables and factors that it's really hard to say definitively, but it's just, I found it very odd that they just moved Shazam up like 6 months ahead, and it's like, we're just going to drop it around Avatar 2. And a lot of people are like, saying that they're not excited for Avatar 2, but let's face it, this is going to be a sleeper hit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people can say all they want. They're like, oh, I don't know about Avatar 2. And again, like, I've had, like, that same feelings here and there as well. But at the end of the day, it's Avatar 2. It's going to make a lot of money. But even then, like, going back to what you were saying as far as, like, oh, like, they're going to move Shazam 2. Like, oh, just so they can make some money before they get destroyed. Like, not for nothing. I would believe that if they moved it up to, like, a week or two before Avatar 2 came out, right? But they moved it to the exact same day. So it just doesn't make any sense. And even then, too, like, Shazam 2, like, I don't think Shazam 2 would be the most family-friendly out of all the DC films they got coming out right now. I mean, I would think DC League of Super Pets, right?
Well, yeah,
That
live
makes
action, I meant.
more sense for family. Oh, live. Oh, okay, yeah, I would say that makes more sense. But even then, like, why not just move, League of Super Pets? If they're really thinking about, like, the family-friendly thing, right? Like, animated or live action, why not just move League of Super Pets to around the time of Avatar 2. I'm going to be honest. I don't think they should, if they, I don't know exactly what they're thinking, but I don't think they should be moving any of those films to around Avatar 2, because I'm going to be honest, like, DC has had a bit of a mixed record when it comes to their films, their Warner Brothers films. So to think that any of them can just automatically take so much from Avatar 2, I'm questioning their judgment on this. I really am.
Yeah, it's very odd. And it's just like release on the same day, even a week before or whatever it may be. It's just odd to release it around Avatar 2. That's the big thing.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a smart move. So before we move on, I just want to give like the dates as far as like when the films were coming out and when they're set to. Now, Aquaman 2 has been delayed from December 2022 to March 7th of 2023. Black Adam has been delayed from July of 22 to October 21st of 2022. The Flash has been delayed from November 2022 to June 23rd, 2023. DC League of Super Pets has gone from May of 2022 to July 29th of this year. And like we said before, Shazam has been moved from mid-2023 to the ill-fated date of December 16th, 2022. So for everybody that's still with us at the moment, what do you think of all these changes? Do you think Warner Brothers is making, really any smart moves with these changes or anything like that? Do you think that they have enough, clout to go up against Avatar 2? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. All right, moving forward, this past Friday, the newest Netflix film, The Adam Project, debuted on the streaming service. When his older self time travels from the future, a young boy teams up with him in order to save that same future. Film stars Ryan Reynolds, Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, and Walker Scobell playing the younger version of that character. And not gonna lie, like the cast that I just mentioned, no one's bad, but no one really stands out either. Everybody pretty much plays themselves, right? Like Ryan Reynolds pretty much plays himself. He's fine doing so. I did see a little bit more emotional depth from him here that, looking back, like I kind of haven't seen since like certain parts of Deadpool, which is kind of weird to reference that. But you can tell too that like the younger version of Ryan Reynolds' character was written so that way Ryan Reynolds can play the older version.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie, to be honest. I liked it more than I thought. I think that the kid specifically, I think he did a really good job with the back and forth between him and Ryan Reynolds, and I really enjoyed that chemistry. And I also really liked just the themes that they were playing, and basically saying that, like, hey, you may not have it all together as a parent, as a kid, but like, the last thing you want to do is really have a rift between that.
And just
exactly.
not be there.
Again, this movie actually made me tear up a bit at a few scenes, and the one thing I didn't expect as well, which I thought they did a really good job, was hone in and really stay within these moments of tenderness, and that I just thought was so well done, and they really let the actors play it out, feel the emotions, and etc. And to me, it got to me a bit, because it's just a nice theme and messaging that it feels so uplifting, especially with how maybe kids are reacting today, with maybe how parents are split, or death in the family, grief. That's that's the biggest thing, and how it affects us. And I like that they use time travel in a way to sort of not necessarily cure it, but just accept it and try to move on in both parties, and even as a parent, which I didn't expect to get a lot of screen time as well with Jennifer Garner. I thought she did an absolute stellar job, and I guess the perception of how Ryan Reynolds' main character perceived the father as well, and you see two different perspectives of that and how they're flawed in their own way. And I absolutely really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really good, and Shawn Levy yet again shows that he knows how to direct Ryan Reynolds, and I think that's another big part.
He knows how to direct Ryan Reynolds. He knows how to direct a sort of fun sci-fi comedy sort of film, because we saw this with Free Guy when that came out last year, and this movie again is no exception. It was a lot of fun. Like, I know I kind of opened up on a negative point before, but I honestly did enjoy this movie. This was a lot of fun. It was very entertaining. It was kind of weird how I kind of felt like a sort of 80s nostalgia vibe with this, even though it takes place in, or it takes place today, and it has people coming from the future. So I felt like that was kind of odd, but I dig it nonetheless. And it was definitely more heartwarming and emotionally effective than I expected. The action was a lot of fun. Visuals, by and large, visuals looked really good. It's definitely beautiful to look at. Like, I remember watching this with my dad, and just certain parts, like certain rural parts, or like certain parts in the woods that they're filming, and I'm like, where the hell is this? I want to go there. Like, this is gorgeous. Wow. This is really nice. There's one thing I will say in terms of, like, like a real flaw in the movie is centered around the villain a lot.
Yeah, that's
Catherine Keener. I like her as an actress. I thought she was terrific in Being John Malkovich, but at the same time, am I the only one that's kind of bored with the whole stereotypical evil CEO villain?
That,
because I feel like it's just put out there so many times, and without spoiling too much, there's a certain character. I probably gave it away already, but there's a certain character who we see the younger version of, right? And the de-aging CGI for that character was really distracting.
It was.
And here's the thing, like, there are films and TV shows that have done it well. Like, Book of Boba Fett, I thought they did a great job with, the whole CGI Luke Skywalker. And I know The Irishman, when that came out, that got a lot of flack for its de-aging CGI. I thought both of them did a solid job with doing that. It was very noticeable. It was really, really noticeable, and it threw me off a lot of times.
Yeah, I wasn't too fond of the villain. Very stereotypical, but at the same time, to me, I guess the themes of the movie and everything kind of overshadow that to a certain degree, because I just had a really good time. Again, I'm not saying it's not there. Obviously, it is. It's in the movie itself. But like that was a disappointing aspect, and I did expect maybe a bit more from that character, and I think they could have done more. But nonetheless, I had a good time. My dad and I are both cracking up while we were watching this. We were both like at the end, like, this was fun. This was good.
It was. It felt like a little bit more than just fun, which, again, like, that was a nice surprise too. I didn't expect anything more than just that. So, like, we both watched this with our dads.
Exactly.
All right, so. All right, everyone. What did you guys all think of The Adam Project? I personally recommend that you check it out on Netflix. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Moving forward, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether on Google Podcasts, Listen Notes, the Podcast Index, Stitcher, and more. If you want to help out the show, please give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you can, and follow our social media pages that are listed in the description. And now, kind of sort of keeping things on the end of The Adam Project, right? It was announced recently that Shawn Levy, the director of both The Adam Project and Free Guy, is set to direct Deadpool 3. This would be the third film with Levy directing Ryan Reynolds. I'm interested to see, like, the sort of actor-director combo that's being formed here. So we'll just have to see if they get a hat trick with this. And I'm curious to see how Levy does directing this one, considering Deadpool's, like, kind of explicit reputation. Adam Project and Free Guy have that PG-13 edge. So I'm curious to see, like, what Levy does when he's given, like, just a bit more free reign, or is Disney cutting the edge on Deadpool with this family-friendly brand by tapping Levi as a director?
That is an interesting way to put it. I hope that they keep Deadpool the way it is. I mean, I remember a while ago they said that they were going to keep Deadpool rated R. So maybe they changed their mind. Maybe that's, I hope not. I think Levi has shown, especially with Free Guy and Adam Project, even action-wise, that he has a really unique eye towards action that I don't really see a lot from other films. And I actually really enjoy it. And every time I've watched Free Guy, or, and even the Adam Project, for some reason in the back of my mind, and this was before they even announced it, I even told myself, alright, Ryan Reynolds did 2 projects with him. Why do I have a feeling Deadpool 3 is going to be the next one he does? And then they announced it, and I was like, wow. And to me, it makes sense. And I think action-wise, I think how Ryan Reynolds also, he's still him, essentially, within all these movies, but I think now, hopefully, if they keep it rated R, and they really give him that creativity to really explore the character further within the Disney brand and family, maybe that can be something special, or it could be a detriment to the Deadpool character and franchise as a whole. We'll have to wait and see, really.
I feel like it would be the latter because everyone knows and loves Deadpool at this point, 2 movies later, as, this rated R franchise, this rated R brand. And I feel like if you cut into that, then people are just not going to be crazy about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. A ton of people are going to see Deadpool 3 when it comes out, regardless of how good it is, right? But if everyone knows that it's going to be PG-13, right, then their expectations for the movie are going to be very low. And I think that, considering that the movie wouldn't be as explicit, then, the whole confirmation bias will come into play too. So it's be like, I knew this wasn't going to be as fun because, he can't say the F-bomb as much. There isn't as much blood and guts and gore everywhere. So I'm wary to say the least. I'm sure Levi himself can do this well. I'm sure he'll be fine. I would just be more worried about the studio intervention at this point. Because you look at the 2 Venom movies, and I've heard all over the place that, if Venom isn't rated R, if Venom 2 isn't rated R, then they're going to flop, right? And look at what happened. We got the movies that we got. So we'll just have to see at this point.
Exactly. It's I'm excited about this. I think it's creatively, this is awesome. This is cool. But then studio-wise, it's kind of okay, what's really going to happen? So.
Yeah. So, do you know when Deadpool 3 is supposed to come out? Have they given it a
They
release
have
date yet?
not, but I'm expecting in the next 2-3 years. That's what I'm expecting it.
That's a fair bet. So, all right, folks, what do you think of Shawn Levy being tapped to direct Deadpool 3? Do you have any faith in Disney to handle the Deadpool franchise the right way with how it's already been established beforehand? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. All right, now before we cap off the show with our review of the newest Disney Pixar film, kind of interesting bit of news came across my IMDb feed within the last couple of days. So we all know Christopher Nolan, right? Easily one of the best filmmakers working today. His next film is Oppenheimer, which is an epic thriller about the making of the atomic bomb. Okay, again, this is coming from the guy who gave us the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, and most recently Tenet. And he's had a couple of interesting casting choices within the last couple of films, right? The newest one, which, again, just really blew my mind. And if you grew up on Drake and Josh, like I did, you were kind of thrown off by this choice. Josh Peck has recently signed onto the next Christopher Nolan film. He's casted as Kenneth Bainbridge, a scientist on a Manhattan Project. Now, here's the thing. I haven't followed Josh Peck too much since Drake and Josh ended, right? He's had a couple of big roles, in the Ice Age sequels, How I Met Your Father. He's going to be on the reboot of iCarly, the new season, if anyone really watches that. I don't really know. But it's weird. I read this, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. Because, again, Nolan is easily one of my favorite filmmakers working today. And obviously, Josh since he's best known for Drake and Josh, he did such a great job on the show. That's a show that to this day, if it's ever on or I'm like watching a clip on YouTube, like I still laugh my ass off. Like, you know when you just grow out of certain shows? Like, I'm 25. I haven't grown out of Drake and Josh yet. The two of them had such a great dynamic, did such a great job. And it's just weird. Like, I'm curious to see, like, what this sort of actor-director combo will bring because, like, as unexpected as it is, like, it's intriguing. Like, I'm old enough to remember when Harry Styles of One Direction was casted in Dunkirk. And honestly, he didn't do a bad job at all. He did a good job. So, it's, I don't know. It's very weird. Like, I'm kind of excited. I'm intrigued more than anything.
Okay.
Like, I just want to see how this goes so badly.
Yeah, like, I think Josh Peck was definitely an interesting choice and something to hear that he's going to be in a Christopher Nolan movie. You know,
yes.
And at first I was just like, and I still kind of am, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I don't really care about Josh Peck. But you know, I think the more you talk about it, even the more I think about it, I think him under the direction of Christopher Nolan is going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I love a twist like this. Because if it's one thing that we can count on Christopher Nolan for with anything regarding to his movies, it's a twist of some kind. And just think of this too, like this movie already has a massive cast. Massive cast. It includes the likes of Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, Rami Malek, Emily Blunt, and now Josh Peck.
You're just, even saying it, you're just like, oh my god.
And again, like, I'm not saying this as like a bad or derogatory thing at all. Like, it's weird. Like, I'm happy, but I feel like this could really go either way. But at the same time, again, it's Christopher Nolan. Like, I have like a weird amount of faith in him being able to bring out a great performance in Josh Peck. And again, like, I'm not even saying this as like a dig at Josh Peck and his like acting abilities, right? Like, obviously, like, you know, he did a great job on Drake and Josh. Haven't really followed him too much since the show ended, of course. But it's just weird, like, you know, like when two different individuals are kind of brought together and you're like, oh, I want to see what these two can do together.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel. And again, just pulling someone who made his claim to fame, like on the Amanda Show and on Drake and Josh, it's a twist. But I'm here for it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely, I have a feeling I might eat my words when we watch the film, because this kind of reminds me of with Robert Pattinson as Batman too, where it's like, only Twilight, but then, you know, just like me, I watched a few of the other stuff he was in, absolutely loved it, he was great, and I'm like, saw Batman, yeah, oh yes. So I think, again, this comes down to also directors, you know, certain directors just know what they want, what they're looking for, and they're really good at communicating that with their actors to get the exact performance.
And bringing that out.
So, which is why I'm like, I'm not big on Josh Peck as an actor or person, really, you know, but like, I think him under the direction of Christopher Nolan is going to be very interesting and very intriguing, which has me intrigued at the very least. Not excited, but interested.
Well, I've already marked my calendar yet again for another Christopher Nolan film. Again, it's an epic thriller too, right? Like, that's what I read on Wikipedia. Let's just, you know, pretend that it's definitely legit. It's considered an epic thriller. Like I said, massive cast. Lot, you know, obviously, you know, historical context. You know, very consequential historical context. So I'm very excited to see how they go about this. This is set to hit theaters on July 21st of 2023. So what do you all think of not just Nolan's next film, but Peck's casting in that film? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. All right, now to cap off the show. This past Friday, the newest Disney Pixar film, Turning Red, premiered on Disney Plus, exclusively on Disney Plus. A little bit of a twist, because I'm going to be honest, I would have seen this in theaters, and I would not have had a problem doing so. In Toronto 2002, an overachieving 13-year-old is shocked by her new ability to transform into a giant red panda whenever she feels a strong emotion of any kind. One of the things that I really liked about this movie was that it feels very different from a lot of other Pixar films. It's a coming-of-age story, which we haven't seen too much of with them. And I feel like it took great advantage of the PG rating, right? Because there are some suggestive implications that they reference with, growing up and going through certain changes. And I felt like this film, as funny as it was, is funniest in those more suggestive moments, which is surprising from a Pixar film. But I'm going to be honest, I really, really liked it. I had a great time with this movie.
Yeah, like I already expected to have liked it. I like the art style, I like the direction, I like the main character just feels very, this overachiever that's like, I'm so into this. And as I'm watching it, and again, I'm just like, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I really liked, again, this comes down to what Pixar does best, and that is its themes and the mannerisms and how they tell their stories. And to me, this just showed yet again they're taking just a different concept, of growing up and everything, did it in a Pixar way and still made it in a way that is entertaining, that is enticing, and that is true. And one of the things I really like about the film was really the notion of being able to accept yourself even with all the flaws that you have. If you want to be wild, go ahead. You want to be crazy, go ahead. It's almost like don't fixate yourself into this perfect ideology and this perfect person for someone else's vision, but you have to be true to yourself. What's the whole point of a legacy if you're not true to yourself as well? And again, there's so many things about it I loved, and I teared up because it really hit. And the main character, Mei Mei, absolutely phenomenal. I thought she was just
great.
Amazing, and the friendship and the bond that she had with all her friends, and the love that she had it really felt so powerful. And the mom, her relationship with the mom, and just how even the mom was just talking about the red panda, and and also seeing that lineage of what happened with this is fascinating, and I really enjoyed it.
It's like generational trauma. I mean, like, it's weird. Like, I've heard like the phrase generational trauma, like that's really thrown around a lot, right? But like, I feel like with this film, like maybe it's like generational mistakes, or like repeating the mistakes of your past, like having a certain legacy and being able to try to fix that too. Like, I thought this movie did that very, very well. Thematically, this is a very clever film.
Yes,
it really is. So you have that, and then like speaking of the whole thematic thing, maybe I'm just putting on a little tinfoil hat here, but is the red panda thing like a giant allegory for puberty?
yes.
I was going to say, like, I wasn't the only one that picked up on that, right? Okay. If that's the case, then spectacular job on their end. That was great.
I saw the making of on as well, and the director literally said, yeah, this is kind of a big version of puberty. I was just like, yo, yep. She does not care.
What a way to do that. What a way to do that. Like, it's like, again, like that messy end of things that comes with, going through that sort of thing, with going through puberty. Like, I thought they did that very well. You don't know how to control certain things, What do you embrace? What don't you embrace? What happens if you let certain things go and you don't tamper down and control certain things? What happens if you let everything go, right? All these messy things that we dealt with, making that into the form of, like, transforming into a giant monster, quote, right? Like, I thought that was really great because, like, a lot of times, like, when we go through this, like, we feel odd.
Yeah.
You feel really out of place. And it's tough to feel accepted there. And it's like once you finally do, like, you really cling on to that, especially at that age, because so many people at that age are just looking for acceptance. And I thought they did that really, really well.
Absolutely.
I thought it was a great cast of characters between Mei Mei, her mother, her grandmother, and like the little, like I said, the whole legacy thing that they have going on. Her friends, I thought her friends were funny too. I thought they were all like a great cast of characters, like sort of like the Four Musketeers sort of thing, right? I thought that was great. And I was just really invested throughout. I was on the edge of my seat throughout watching this. Like, I felt myself like rooting things, like saying things out loud, rooting for or like cringing against like all the characters. And I just thought that they did a really great job with this. I remember when I first found out about like the storyline for this movie, I'm like, all right, that's different. Let's see where this goes. But I wasn't sure about the directions that they would take, but I really liked all of them. I really did. This is one of the better Pixar films to come out in really the last few years.
Wow. Hearing you say that is kind of like, okay.
Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't think the movie would be bad.
No,
I thought
yeah,
the movie would be
of course.
fine. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did.
Understandable. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Had a blast. It was funny. Oh, there's so many moments. I just laughed. I didn't cringe, but I was just laughing because of just how silly certain interactions were, and what a parents do under certain situations.
You would hope not, right? Like, you would hope they wouldn't do that under certain situations. But here's the thing. I never had anything like that happen with me when I was younger, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that can't say that. So, that's that. But again, like it's just a really great time. Definitely recommend checking this out on Disney Plus. And I guess I feel like this should have been in theaters.
It should have been.
This really should have been in theaters. But, oh well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. So, everybody, thoughts on Turning Red? If you haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, I highly recommend you do. What do you think of Turning Red? Not just as a solo film, but as a film that stands with the other Pixar films. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. And just like that, that's all we got for you today. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and more. If you want to help out the show, please give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you can, and follow our social media pages that are listed in the description. And tune in next Monday for our review of Deep Water, starring Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas, which premieres on Hulu this Friday. We'll see you then.
Adios.